Hi guys, I'm Ryan Newsman and welcome to my fly tying channel. If you haven't already done so, consider hitting the subscribe button down below. That'll keep you up to date with everything as I upload it. My channel already contains hundreds of videos covering a wide range of both patterns and techniques, from the basic to the more advanced. So without delay, let's get on with the show. Hi guys, so today what we're going to tie is a jig fly, and this is in a sort of a bronze motor oil type colour, so it's a bronze Bream jig fly. So I have a jig hook here, and the weight obviously is up to yourself depending on what sort of conditions you like to fish. I'm using gel spun, and I'm just going to super glue the base of my thread wraps here to make sure that the body shouldn't twist. So first things first, I'm going to put on the core of the tail, and I'm going to use a disco or magnum gold holographic tinsel for this. So I take 2 lengths of it, and I'm just going to misalign them by about an inch or so there, and then I'm going to tie them in roughly across their middle. And you can see this now comes out here, so we have a fly that's about 7 or 8 inches long, and wrap over that another little dab of glue. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on a little bit of a similar tinsel, but in like a bronze copper colour. I'm going to cut my length in 2, and I'm going to put it on till it's maybe 2 inches shy of the tip of the tail, and tie it in, and then fold these ends back. Even though they're short, don't worry, they'll make up the sort of bulk of the thicker part of our fly body. So to give ourselves the flare and the shape to the body, what I'm going to do is use a bunch of this sort of brown bucktail. I'm going to place that on and allow it to sort of splay around the shank. It's quite difficult with the jig type hook, but we get on a couple of loose slaps, and then as I pull into that, it'll splay it out. And then I'm going to wrap through all these sticky out root bits. Now some people will trim those off. I'm not going to do that because it's going to help to sort of flare the rear of our fly. I'm just going to glue a couple of inches of my thread and wrap down into that as well to help to keep it together. So then I just push all of these back, pinch it a little bit. As we can see, we now have that sort of umbrella type flare, and I'm going to just run my super glue around the front of that and wrap into it just to hold its position. So that will then support the tinsels and the other bits of the body that we put on. So next I'm going to take a bunch of the tinsel mix that I've made. So in here we have a mix of like a holographic brown, copper, there's holographic gold in there, plain copper, plain brown, and I'm just going to pull the ends of the bunch out so we get this little bit of a taper to it. And I'm going to take that and lay it in. It's probably 2/3 or 3/4 the way along its length. Allow it to splay all around the shank with a loose slap, and then as you tighten it should start to sort of splay all around. Fold all this back. And then just hold it in place. And again, a little bit of super glue to hold it in place. So as you can see, we now have sort of like that fish shape already, and you have to have a lot of material in there. Like the tinsel is sort of pushed out by this umbrella of the bucktail, gives a sort of a hollow center to the fly and allows it to pulse in the water. So Next, what I'm going to use is a bit of this sort of Connect-On like Predator fiber stuff, and here I have a mix of gold and like a rusty auburn copper sort of a colour. Now I have already pulled this apart so that the ends of it are slightly misaligned, and that'll give us a taper to the body, and I'm going to tie this in its middle. Place it on a loose lap, make sure it sort of envelops all around the shank. So next we're going to put on a finer tinsel, but as you can see I haven't folded this bunch back yet, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this finer tinsel in the middle of this, and then the fibre will sort of support it whenever we fold it back. So as you can see, this is a finer, it's probably 1/2 mil tinsel, and it's about 6 inches long or so, so I'm going to tie it in across its middle. I'm going to fold it around so it sort of envelops the whole shank again, and then loose wrap it to tighten up, and you can see it now blends in to the center of this bunch. So a few wraps across that to sort of support it. Then I'm going to place some glue in there, and then I'm just going to fold all this back. On a fly you just use a big straw or something like that just to fold it back, but the jig head it's not possible, so we have to sort of just stroke it back. Try not to stick your finger onto the hook. And then once she's folded, I would just run a little bit of glue just to prevent it from pulling out and to hold the shape that you want. So what I'm trying to do is trying to get my fly pinched flat in this plane a lot of the time, and that'll aid whenever it comes to putting on the eyes and etc. So now to make the head on the fly, so what I'm going to use is this tan coloured or ginger coloured, whatever, craft fur, and it'll probably take 2 bunches to put that on. So I've cut this bunch off. It's quite long, it's probably 80 mil craft fur. So I'm going to pinch it about 2 centimeters hanging out this end, and I'm just going to pinch out the short fluffy bit, because it won't contribute to the shape of the head in a positive way, how would you put it, because it would actually bulk it up without having the length of the fibre to be able to fold back and conform to shape. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put that up on top, tie it in, so that has now sort of enveloped the how do you put it, 9 to 3 o'clock on the clock. I'll flip the fly over, and now we need to put another bunch on the top to finish off the head. So same job, bunch out, pull out the short stuff, set it up on top. I'm sort of pushing it down with my thumb and then allowing the tie-in thread to sort of splay it around a little bit. Wrap in behind it, and then I'm going to put on 2 half hitches to finish that and cut off my thread. So there's 2 ways of doing the head to finish it now. What we could do is to super glue in here and then fold it back. We have to be quick if we do that. Or just fold all this back, and if you want to be extra particular about it, you could take like a mascara brush type thing and just brush this to separate all the fibres, and then slide back. Pull it back in position, and then super glue that. So with the glue in place, I'm just going to give it a pinch, because again I want
kind of a flat profile here, it'll help to put the eyes on. And if there are any bits that just aren't behaving themselves, just a little tap with the glue just to set them in position. Doing this as well will also help when it comes to finishing your head with epoxy, etc., and that it'll give you a nice clean shape to begin with. So that's essentially the fly tied. It's now just a matter of eyes and finishing the head off. But as you can see, we have this sort of hollow nature to the back of the fly, that volume, where we still have the taper and the baitfish sort of pattern or silhouette to it. So what we're going to do is put on a set of eyes then. So I have other ones that I've pre-tied to these stages because I want the super glue to dry. If you don't let the super glue dry, it can interfere with your epoxies whenever you try to finish the head, and that can lead to discoloration, or I suppose it could also lead to it not setting. So I'm going to mix my epoxy on these little post-it pads, and I use cocktail sticks to do so. And I'm going to use a 5-minute epoxy, 2-part. So I'm just going to put a little blob of each onto my pad, and with a cocktail stick I'm going to mix it together. So you just mix and mix and mix. It'll sort of go a little bit milky first, and then it'll start coming back to clear. That's how you know when it's done. So then with the cocktail stick, if you twiddle it, you'll get the blob on it. Put your fly over on its side and allow that blob to settle onto the area where you want the eye. And I'm just using the point of the cocktail stick then to drive some of that epoxy down into the material. And that'll give us strength to our head, and also it means that there's like a supporting post down to the hook itself, so that when the eye is on it, then if something does squeeze it, there's no give in it as such, and less likely to break the epoxy that you've put on. So, but we still need like a little blob of it up there above the materials, because what I want to do, I'm going to take these 3D eyes. Now choose whatever colour suits yourself, but I like to stick the back lip of the eye into that little blob so that I catch a small amount of it, like a little lip over the eye. It may not be as neat, but I think it gives extra strength and security to the whole thing. Some people will just put a small blob on the back of the eye and stick it on. Yeah, it'll stick, but all of these eyes are laminates. You know, there's actually like a foil underneath that which can detach, so I'd prefer to have something that also catches the actual dome of the eye rather than just the foil at the back of it. So once that's on, we now need to let that dry. Now you can leave it like that if you've got a good flat profile to the head. It'll be fine on its own, or get some sort of a clip. This is actually like a garden clip, I think, for climbing plants. And you can see it just sits around the ball head nicely, so that there needs to dry now. So we take that off and set it off to the side. And then we take one that we had previously done and place that on. So we're going to finish this head off now. So what you have to remember is that this fly is going to fish like that. So that the bottom bit here, the hook is up bottom bit is going to be essentially the throat. This is the top of the head, just for whenever you're creating a finish, if you're going to create a two-tone finish on the thing, that you don't end up with it upside down. So again, a little bit more of our epoxy and mix it up. Difference here is that I'm going to glitter it up. So I'm going to put a base of a fine gold glitter into the epoxy. I'm just going to mix it around. This also sort of gives you an idea that it's well mixed, in that once it's well distributed through it, you know, it should in theory be well mixed. So we get our blob of that, and I'm going to just set it on between the eyes. I don't want it to go over them too much at all. I'm going to then put it on the top as well, and if we have any gaps in the back of the eyes, you know, then we can just use the cocktail stick and just dig that in just to fill any gaps there might be. I then want it to join just across the front of the eye, and same on this side, like a little collar at the front. And I would like a very small bit of that just to bleed over the front of the eye itself, but not much, as again I think it helps it to stay on. Now you could use UV cured epoxy if you want, but I find that it looks great at the time, and down the line they tend to I don't know what they do, they change, they go soft again. So now I'm going to flip the fly up, and I'm just going to sprinkle this darker brown glitter onto it, and that, while the epoxy is wet, it'll actually set into it and it'll create a really nice smooth finish. So that essentially is the fly done. It's just a matter of that drying. So what I'm going to do for that is I'm going to put it on a rotary fly dryer. Take it off, stick it onto this. If you want, you can take your clip and put it around the fly so as the materials don't get caught up, and then we'll set that off to the side somewhere, but basically as that goes around, it'll mean that the epoxy never gets a chance to sag or sink in any one direction, and it'll give you a nice smooth head. But that'll take that 5 minutes or so. So while it's doing that, that's our fly finish. So hopefully you like what you've seen. If you do, give us a like, subscribe, tell your friends, and until next time, tight lines, and thanks for watching.